Good morning and welcome to today's edition of the Chiswick Coffee Break. I am thrilled and delighted that Sapna Pieroux is my guest today. Thank you so much, Sapna, for joining me.
Hello, Jean. Thank you for having me.
It's been a while and I'm glad we finally got it together. This is great. So let me tell you something about Sapna. She's a multi-award winning brand consultant, designer, author, and speaker. Sapna is the founder of InnerVisions ID. She works with ambitious thought leaders and game changers building brands that help you make a bigger impact. Sapna's #1 best-selling book, Let's Get Visible, came out in 2020. I'm going to beat you to that. See, I have my copy here too. It came out in 2020 and won a Business Book Award. Her vision process promises to give you brand clarity and stand out to scale faster, and is so powerful that some rebrands can be done in just one day. Sapna is a brand partner for Rethink and Panoma Press, is resident brand expert in 2 business coaching groups, a business mentor at the University of West London, and a guest lecturer at Hult International Business School. She's married to Andy and lives in West London with their 2 lovely boys who I get to see photographs of on Facebook and are gorgeous. So welcome today. I'm going to start with a really important subject. We're going to get to the branding, etc. in a while, but I know this one is close to your heart and something we want to focus on. You recently found out that you had breast cancer. It's obviously been an interesting journey, and you've been wonderful at sharing your journey. But tell me a little bit how you found it and how it's been going.
Yeah, well, I found it just when I was putting body lotion on, after every daily shower, and I realised that it wasn't a lump; it was an area of skin that just felt a little bit firmer than it did before, and it didn't feel the same on the other side. And I've been working out loads. I actually thought I was toning up, but when I realised it wasn't on the other side, and also you can't firm your boobs up with working out as I kind of thought to myself. So went and got it checked out, and literally in my first appointment, mammogram, ultrasound, they did 3 biopsies and told me I had a 1 in 50 chance that it wasn't cancer. That all happened on a Tuesday evening, so it was quite accelerated.
And you've shared the journey. You had quite a summer. You said it's been about 3 months from
August the 6th I was diagnosed. Yeah.
The day that's going to remain in your mind, I'm sure.
Well, yeah.
I'm pleased to say that we're on the other end and the news is good, but tell me what's Prognosis and where you're at, where you are now.
Well, luckily I diagnosed it early, and that's why I'm talking about it, why I shared my journey, to raise awareness, to get women to check themselves, and men, because men can get breast cancer too. So I've been saying check your boobs, check your moobs, and 1 in 7 women will get it, and 1 in 100 men, just 1% of men. But it's one of those cancers that is detectable by us ourselves, and so we have the power to. That's why I've got my Supergirl T-shirt on. But, we have the power to detect that, and and so I did get it at stage 1. It was grade 2, so it's early, but not the best behaved cancer, but not the worst. And so we did go private, and they whizzed me through, and I had my mastectomy. I had too many tumours in that boob for them to actually save it. So I had a mastectomy, but I also had a fat transplant for my stomach to reconstruct at the same time. So now I've got a really flat tummy. So, there's swings and roundabouts.
You always look at the positive, but I understand no chemotherapy, which is a great outcome.
Which was an absolute result. I found out just last week, because I'd been living with the fear of having to go through chemotherapy. We couldn't plan anything. I couldn't be visionary with my business. I couldn't even plan, little one wanted to go to Litopia, and I said, I can't buy tickets for anything, darling, because mummy might be in chemo. I might be feeling sick. I might not even want to be seen in public. I don't know how I'm going to be feeling. So we couldn't plan anything. And as soon as I found out last Friday, not this Friday just gone, but the Friday before, one of the first things I did was book Litopia tickets.
There you go.
So Christmas come early.
There you go. I'm delighted for the outcome, and long may you stay in good health.
Thank you. Yeah, I have got medication. I haven't got off completely scot-free, apart from the major surgery. I will be taking an estrogen suppressant for at least the next 5 years. So tamoxifen.
Okay. We're happy for the no chemotherapy. That's
absolutely. It puts you in a permanent state of menopause, but I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have, as I mentioned, been amazingly, you've been out there on your journey. You are just amazingly you're out there everywhere. So your email campaigns, you do your Facebook lives, you are visible. I mean, obviously that's your business and that's what you do. What's your motivation behind what you do and how you do it?
Well, that made it sound like it's all about me, and it's not. It's really about giving people the confidence to get themselves visible and get themselves out there. Primarily, it's businesses that I help with their brands. We go through 96 meters of social media a day on average. That's a Google stat, and that is the height of Big Ben. So that's what we're scrolling through. So if you imagine a piece of, a social media post or a blog or this video and how fast people are scrolling, you've got to have a brand that what I call stops the scroll, gets you more visible and helps you make a bigger impact. And I tend to work with a lot of entrepreneurial businesses, but my kind of real focus and passion is working with businesses that are trying to make a bigger impact in other ways, like, sort of CSR, social responsibility, that kind of stuff. So it might not be the core of their business, but they have those extra values, and so much like my business as well, we kind of give a portion of what we do, and with every business interaction we donate to B1G1, which is buy one give one. So every time someone has a Zoom call with me, for example, we give 5 days of clean water to a child in the world somewhere. So it's one of those things that I'm really passionate about, and it's about, I think business can be a force for good, and the more successful your business is, the more you should be giving back. And I can help businesses get successful and help them create better lives for others.
Good. Wow. Great. So branding, which is your thing, branding is not necessarily just for the big boys. Branding is something that we SMEs and even micro businesses, it's important, isn't it, for any business of any size?
Absolutely, because again, it's about that visibility. If people are scrolling past you, you're losing a sale, you're losing an interaction. And that's one of the mistakes I see people making all the time when, smaller businesses, they think, well, I'm not going to invest in my brand. I'll just get a logo done on Fiverr and that'll be it. I've got my branding done. And what they don't, firstly, your logo isn't your branding, that there is colors and typefaces and style guides and imagery, and there's a whole ecosystem around the visual side. But actually building a brand is more about how you're going to have people think about you, what your reputation is going to be, what the customer experience is going to be. And so I help people really dig into their values, build that brand personality, develop their brand voice as well. So it's not just how it looks, but it's about how it feels. A brand should be about how it, when people think of you, there has to be kind of some sort of emotion connected to your brand. If you're not tapping into people's hearts as well as their minds, then you're missing a trick. Because, as I say, how do you differentiate yourself from tons of other service providers that are, you could say, oh yes, we're accountants. And everybody would say, they're so-and-so accountants, so-and-so accountants. But if somebody can say, we're helping you live the life that you want to live, or start to bring some emotion into it, then people are going to connect with that and actually sort of think, well, I want to work with them because they understand me, they get me.
And we had a brief discussion before, but personal brand versus the visual brand. I mean, there's got to be some of that in your branding, isn't there?
Well, yeah, I mean, the personal brand, especially for entrepreneurs, especially for SMEs, you are your brand as well. When you turn up to networking events, when you start doing talks like this, when you're standing on a stage, if you write a book or, whatever, people want to know the person behind the company increasingly. And if you think about those big brands now that are really famous, things like Virgin, for example, and Apple and, now Twitter, they've all got known kind of figureheads. You back in the olden days, if I'd have said, Jaguar, who was the head of Jaguar, you wouldn't know. But if I said who's the head of Virgin, you would, because personal brand has become more and more important. Again, it's a point of differentiation. It's a way of making emotional connection. And if people like you and they like what you do, then that's, people buy people. So the personal brand thing is really important.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people that with the social media and things like that, it's all fine to throw out messages about your business and what you can do. But at the end of the day, people are buying from the person. They want to know the people behind the business.
You know what? I'll tell you a secret, Jeannie. I really didn't like being in front of the camera. You'll believe it or not. And it was only when I wrote my book, which was 2020, that my social media lady said, you know that you've written a book called Let's Get Visible, you're going to have to get visible. And I went, oh God. And I just, you know, and that was kind of the start of it, because it was like, well, I've written the book now, I've got to, but the book's not about me getting visible, but to promote the book, people know who it is that's written the book. I had to step out. I used to say, well, can't my work just speak for itself?
Yeah, it is something that, like I said, it's a big lesson I do it with social media. I want to know who I'm buying from, and that's even big brands. It's brands of all sizes. Still want personality to come out there, because I want to trust, and trust who I'm buying from.
Like trust, yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, this has been great. I always end my little Chiswick coffee breaks with one last question on a local basis. Where's your favorite spot in West London? I always like to
well,
know.
I live in Ealing, not Chiswick, but
well, Ealing and Chiswick to me is kind of.
So we were saying, I don't drink coffee, so I don't really.
How have you gotten away without drinking coffee after all
I know
these
my
years?
husband said I'd be scary on caffeine, so here I am with my mint tea. But so I don't really hang out in coffee shops. I don't like the smell of coffee. But there is a lovely place called 216 Grind around the corner from me, which is more of a restaurant, really, a sort of cafe restaurant. And so quite often we might do brunch or lunch there, occasional dinners. And there's another nice one called Element, which is a bit further up near Northfields Tube. So both of these are near Northfields Tube, and they do a great pastel de nata.
Oh, good. I mean, you said you're not an early bird. You're more of an evening person.
I do. I tend to frequent bars more than than coffee shops, but
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, thank you so much, Sapna, for being my guest today. I really appreciate it. Do you want one last shout out about what people should do about their boobs?
Oh, I thought you were going to say that brands. Well, definitely. Well, obviously, if they're thinking about the brands, they need to come and talk to me. But
yes, absolutely.
Do check yourself. I mean, I will just mention my best friend Lizzie, who died of breast cancer. She was the one that actually made me more aware of it, and I thank her for keeping me vigilant. And so now I'm trying to pass the message on to others. And do check yourself, and go to the doctor if there's anything that's worrying you.
Thank you so much. And I'm really glad of the outcome for you this summer. And thank you for sharing your journey with everybody too. And thank you everybody for watching. And I look forward to seeing you at the next Chiswick Coffee Break.